What is it about war that sparks the imagination and provokes dreams of heroic acts and daring adventure? In July of 1914, this patriotic fervor was growing around the world as nations prepared to square off against one another. There was no shortage of volunteers willing to go to the front. In England, the military sent out the call for 100,000 able-bodied men to join the ranks. They expected to reach this goal within 6 months. Military officials were stunned when this enlistment quota was swamped by 500,000 volunteers in the first month. Enlistments in England would continue at a rate of 1,000 per month through the first year and a half of the war. Estimates on all sides of the conflict were that the war would be over by Christmas. Young men across the globe rushed to enlist with their friends and neighbors in order to catch their first glimpse of battle. Overnight, communities would see their best and brightest join up together to fight the good fight. In England, this PAL system allowed enlistees to stay with those they knew best. Football teams, co-workers, school chums, all decided to join at the same time to keep their pals together. Whatever the danger they would face, they knew from a lifetime of experience spent together that they could count on the men standing next to them. After training, these pals would find their way to the front lines. Anticipation for combat was high. New weapons that had been tested in the colonies of Europe, such as the machine gun, would finally have their chance to prove their worth on European fields. The weapons of war had changed, but the tactics of the European militaries remained firmly entrenched in the past. Imagine, if you will, the great battles of the American Revolution and the Napoleonic Wars. Two armies lined up in perfect formation staring across the battlefield towards their opponents. Muskets and rifles would fire, and an organized and coordinated movement of ranks would maneuver across the landscape until one side or the other had the tactical advantage and carried the day. This is how the generals of European powers viewed the war progressing. They had spent years, some of them decades, studying the great battles of the past in order to employ the same strategies to this modern conflict. So ingrained was the belief in the value of such tactics and formations that these leaders would be blinded to the reality of modern warfare. Woefully unprepared for this new kind of fighting, the brave young men of Europe would suffer a slaughter of epic proportions. By the end of 1914, deaths and casualties as well as captured and missing men would add up to a staggering 5,145,000 individual lives that had been shattered by the war. This number does not take into account the suffering of those friends and family left behind. And what was gained by these losses? In one example, the British Army suffered 16,000 deaths to take 2 miles of land. This equates to roughly 4 men laying down their lives per yard gained. While this sounds horrific, it was only the beginning of the war. Weapons would continue to improve, but the tactics remained the same. The killing fields were only starting to take their toll. It would get much, much worse before the end.